Yeah, Bava Metzia, Dalet Zayin.
Valentine. Valentine. 4 silver miles contains fraud. 2 silver miles constitutes a claim, and the worth of a pruta constitutes a confession. There are 5 laws involving a pruta. The worth of a pruta constitutes confession. A woman may be married with the worth of a pruta. If one derives benefit worth of pruta from consecrated things, he has committed miila. If one finds the worth of a pruta, he is required to announce it. And if one robs another the worth of a pruta and swears to him, he must follow him with even to Medea. 5 laws require the addition of a fifth. If one eats truma of the tithe, truma of the damai, challah, or bikurim, he must add a fifth. If one redeems his revived plantings or a second tithe, he must add a fifth. And if one redeems his consecrated object, he must add a fifth. If one derives benefit the worth of a pruta from consecrated articles, he must add a fifth. And if one robs another of the worth of a pruta and swears to him, he must add a fifth. The following things are not governed by the law of fraud: slaves, deeds, land, and consecrated articles. The rule of twofold payment does not apply to them, nor that of the fourfold and fivefold payment. An unpaid showman need not take an oath, nor need a paid shomer pay. Reb Shimon says consecrated articles for which one is responsible are governed by the law of fraud, but those for which he is not responsible are not governed by the law of fraud. Rabbi Yehuda says also one who sells a Torah scroll, an animal, or a pearl is not governed by the law of fraud. They said to him, they stated only these. Okay. Oh, okay, so you're up next.
Right. Okay. So Mishnah Yud. Keshem she'ona b'mekach u'mimkar, kach ona b'dvarim. So we're switching the definition of ona over here. Just like you have, what's the right English word over here? You have, I mean, we called it overcharging, but it's a kind of oppression, right? And we're using the connotation of oppression over here to talk about onas devarim, when you're hurting somebody with your words. Okay. So going into the store and asking, hey, how much is this? That's you're just really toying with him. You're not really interested in buying it. So you're just toying with his feelings. He's getting excited because he's going to make a sale, and really not interested. So that's called onas devarim. Im haya bal teshuva lo yomar lo zechor maasecha harishonim. So bal teshuva say, hey, remember when you used to go to the nightclubs and whatever? Like, leave me alone. I don't want to have to remember that. And ve'imhu ben gerim lo yomar lo zechor maasecha avosecha. Even if he's like a child of gerim, not even himself a ger, just like talking about his parents. Say, I remember your parents used to go to church and whatever. That's hurtful. He doesn't want to be reminded of painful things. And furthermore, it's a specific isser against the ger. So we had we have one pasuk in Vayikra which says v'lo sonu ishes amito v'yaresam Elohecha. So a person is not allowed to do ona to his friend, not just with overcharging, but also with words. And for a ger, there's an extra isur, right? From Shmos, which is ger loso never los ilchatzenu. You're not allowed to. So it's a double isur to do it to a ger.
Is there a pasuk? Is there a pasuk? No, I think it says in the Torah not to, or somewhere it says somewhere not to remind. Here, maybe this is it though.
This is exactly it.
Is there a specific pasuk for that, not reminding them, or just for a ger where they have the pasuk?
Well, so we have one for a ger and one for a general.
General, okay.
Yeah. So the general one is Kahati quotes the original pasuk, which isn't explicitly stated in the Mishnah, but it comes from Vayikra Kaf Hey Yud Zayin. V'lo sono ishes amito v'yaresam Elohecha. That you.
I don't even think you're supposed to do it to yourself. If you're about tshuva, you're not supposed to say, "Oh, I remember."
Okay, so that's like about lashon hara.
Right.
If it's saying lashon hara on yourself, that it's I think the Chafetz Chaim was mechadesh that. I think that you shouldn't even say bad about yourself. But that's like even there was that master Shahaya when he was coming to town, and the driver didn't recognize him, and
Right.
he sees they come in and see this big crowd, and the driver says, you know why there's this big crowd? You know the Chafetz Chaim is coming to town today. You know, he's a massive gadol, and the Chafetz Chaim said, he's okay. And the driver turned on him and like was shouting at him and whatever. And then it turned out that he was the Chafetz Chaim. The driver was totally embarrassed, and the Chafetz Chaim apologized to him and said, "You just taught me, Chiddush, that even against oneself, you shouldn't speak lashon hara."
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Ein ma'arbin peiros bepeiros. Okay. So you're not allowed to take different grades of produce and mix them together if you're selling them. Okay. Even afilu chadashim b'chadashim. Even if it's new produce with new produce, because this is now another form of fraud that you're making. Somebody thinks that it's all from one field, but it's not. But it's really you've got some other produce that's mixed in from another field. Okay. The ein tzarich lomar chadashim v'yishanim, and definitely not old with new. BMS, when the Mishnah says BMS, this is an absolutely clear halacha that nobody argues with. And that's what it means. Whenever you see BMS in a Mishnah, that's clear halacha. Okay. Bayayin hitiru la'arev kashe barach. That with wine, you've got they had different grades of wine. They had the strong sort of distilled wine almost, where it was too strong to drink as it was. I don't know if they allowed some of the water to evaporate, so it became stronger. But basically, what they would have to do is they would have to dilute their wine in order to be able to drink it. Okay. But if you've got some dilute wine, so mixing that is actually acceptable because it improves the flavor of the wine. Ein ma'arvin shimmer yain b'yain. You may not mix the sediment of wine with the wine. But he can sell the wine with its original sediment because that's just the way wine normally comes. So if somebody has already mixed water into his wine, he may not sell it in the shop, unless he puts a big label on it saying this is diluted wine. Right? So there's no question that anyone who comes to buy it will be fooled and think that this is actually a strong wine at a good price. Okay, and he may not sell it to a merchant, even if he tells the merchant that actually this is dilute wine, because the concern here is not that the merchant is going to be fooled, but that the merchant is going to take it and fool somebody else, right? Because if a merchant comes and buys diluted wine, there's a big chashash that he's going to use it to trick people. However, in a place where the minhag is to dilute wine before you sell it, then they can do it. They can add in the water.
I wonder what the wine is like. Like today, the most, I mean, you get to about 15.5%. I don't think you get even maybe 60%. But I wonder what it was like then. Are we talking about 45, 50% of
I think I once saw a wine that was a higher percentage than that even, but I can't remember when or where. Just remember noting, whoa, that's high alcohol in the wine. But yeah, I'm really not a wine expert, so
I wonder what it was like though. I wonder what it was,
yeah.
How strong. They keep saying how we always learn about how strong it was. That was really not drinkable. But
okay, Yud Beis Hatagar. This is the merchant. Notel mechamesh granos v'nosein letzorch mugura achas. So now, here's the merchant is who's known. He's known to be buying from lots of different farmers. So for him, it's permitted to take from 5 different granaries and put them into one tray because everyone knows that he's a merchant and he mixes grain, and there's no deceit involved. And also from 5 different vats. He's allowed to take the wine and put them into one. But he mustn't have intention to mix good with bad in order to and to advertise, I've taken from the good vineyard. Okay. Rabbi Yehuda Omer lo yichalek achen vaniklayos ve'egozin latinokos. So Rabbi Yehuda says that it's an unfair business practice for a guy to hand out basically sweets to the children. Now look at their sweets are not sugar. Their sweets are pitzuchim.
Right.
Right? Klayos ve'egozin latinokos. Then, as now, kids just go for the the pitzuchim, the dried seeds and whatever, because now he's making friends with the kids, and when they grow up, they're going to be his customers. They say that's fine. The Chachamim say, listen, if you don't like your competition giving candy to the kids, then you give candy to the kids. And Rabbi Yehuda continues and says he also may not drop his prices and make a price war, because that's unfair to his competitors who might not be able to afford the lower prices. Shalom al Israel. Let there be price wars. We're more concerned for the well-being of the consumers, of whom there are many, than of the merchants who they need to learn to fend for themselves. Okay. And he may not sift his beans, says Rabbi Yehuda. So it's a Divrei Abba Shaul. So Abba Shaul says that sifting the beans gives them a good look. Now, let's just see what is he. Why?
Says he may not pick out the inferior beans from among the good ones, since his hands is their appearance.
Yeah.
He will raise the price more than the commensurate to the ones that have been removed.
Right, but Chachamim say mutter, no problem. It's not called onab. It's something that you can see, because the customer can take a look and see that this is high quality beans. They've had the rubbish sifted out of them, and maybe he wants to pay more. Okay, then he can save himself the trouble of sifting the beans later. So no problem with that. But he can't just sift the top layer. So it looks like he's got good beans, and then you stick the shovel in and take it out, and you're taking all the rubbish with it. Okay. So when a person is selling either a slave or an animal or any kind of kalim, you can't doll them up to look better than they really are, because again, that's a deceit. You got to be completely honest about what you're selling, and not pretend that you're selling better quality merchandise than what you've got. Okay, that's that. Base test.
Base test. What is considered a lost article? If he finds a donkey or a cow grazing by the road, this is not considered a lost article. A donkey with its gear overturned or a cow running among the vineyards, this is considered a lost article. If he returned it and it ran away, returned it again and it ran away even 4 or 5 times, he's obligated to return it, and it is said, you shall surely return them. If he refrain from earning a seller, he shall not say to him, give me a seller. Rather, he pays him his wage like an idle worker. If there is a court, he may stipulate before the court. If there is no court before whom he shall stipulate, his own takes precedence. If he finds it in a stable, he is not responsible for it. In a public domain, he is responsible for it. If it is in a graveyard, he may not contaminate himself for it. If his father says to him, contaminate yourself, or he says to him, do not return it, he should not obey him. If he unloaded and loaded and unloaded and loaded, even 4 or 5 times, he is obligated, as it is said, you shall surely help. If he walked away and sat down and said, since the commandment is incumbent upon you, if you want to unload, unload, he is exempt. As if he said, with him, if he is old or sick, he is obligated. You okay? Okay. All right. If the commandment, it is a commandment in the Torah to unload, but not to unload. Reb Shimon says even to load. Reb Yossi Galilean says if he bore more than its proper burden, he is not bound to him, for it is said, unto its burden, a burden which he can bear. Right. Between his own lost article and his father's lost article, his own lost article takes precedence. Between his own lost article and his teacher's lost article, his own takes precedence. Between his father's lost article and his teacher's lost article, his teachers take precedence. For his father brought him into this world, whereas his teacher who taught him wisdom brings him into the life of the world to come. If his father is a scholar, however, his father takes precedence. If his father and his teacher were carrying a load, he should put down his teachers and afterwards put down his fathers. If his father and his teacher were into captivity, he should ransom his teacher and afterwards ransom his father. If his father was a scholar, however, he should ransom his father and afterwards ransom his teacher. Okay.
Okay.
One more.
Base.
Oh wait. That was it. We're finished.
Yeah.
Right.
No.
Okay. I was ready to go on. Okay. Bava comma. Base. In what way is Shen considered muad? To eat what is fit for it. The animal is muad to eat fruits and vegetables. If it is ate garments or vegetables, he pays half the damages. In what regard were these words said? On the premise of the damagee. But in a public domain, he is exempted. If he benefited, he pays for what he benefited. How does he pay for what he benefited? If he ate from the middle of the street, he pays for what he benefited. From the sides of the street, he pays for what he damaged. From the entrance of a store, he pays for what he had benefited. From inside the store, he pays for what is damaged. If a dog or kid jumped off the top of a roof and broke vessels, its owner pays the full damages because they are mu'ad. If a dog took a cake and went to a stack of grain, ate the cake and ignited the stack of grain, for the cake, its owner pays the full damages. For the stack of grain, he pays the half the damages. What is tam and what is mu'ad? A mu'ad is anyone who has worn 3 days. A tam where he refrains from goring for 3 days. These are the words of Rabbi Yehuda. Metzia says a mu'ad is one that was worn 3 times. A tam, anyone that the children touch and it does not gore.
Okay.
Okay.
Nadarim, yeah, Yud Hey.
A Bulgaris who had waited 12 months or a widow 30 days, Rabbi Eliezer says, since her husband is responsible for her sustenance, he can revoke her Nadarim. The Chachamim, however, say a husband cannot revoke her Nadarim until she has entered his authority. A woman awaiting a Yavam, whether one Yavam or 2 Yavamim, Rabbi Eliezer says he may revoke her Nadarim. Rabbi Yeshua says when she awaits 1 but not 2. Rabbi Akiva says neither when she awaits 1 nor 2. Says Rabbi Eliezer, if he can revoke the Nadarim of a wife whom he had acquired on his own, surely he can revoke the Nadarim of a wife he acquired for him by heaven. Said Rabbi Akiva to him, no, you said this is for a woman who he acquired on his own. It is because others have no rights to her. Shall you say this for a woman who was acquired by him for him by heaven, to whom others do have rights? Rabbi Yeshua to him, Akiva, your words apply when there are 2 Yavamim. What do you answer when there is 1? He said to him, the Yavama is not as complete a wife to the Yavam as a betrothed woman is complete wife to her husband. One who says to his wife, all the Nadarim which you make from now until I return from such and such a place are confirmed, he said nothing. But if he says they shall be revoked, where Eliezer says they are revoked. The comments say, however, they are not revoked. Where Eliezer says, if he can revoke the Nadarim which are already binding, should he not be able to revoke the Nadarim which are not yet binding? They said to him, it says a husband can confirm it and a husband can revoke it. That which can be confirmed can be revoked, and that which cannot be confirmed cannot be revoked.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
Sachim Zainale.
How do we roast the Pesach? We bring a spit of pomegranate wood and thrust it through from its mouth to its anus and place its knees and its entrails inside. These are the words of Rabbi Yossi Agili. Rabbi Akiva says this is considered a form of cooking, rather they are hung outside it. We may roast the Pesach offering either on a metal spit or on a roasting tray. Reb Tzadok said it once happened.
We may not.
We may not, right. Okay, we may not roast the Pesach offering either on a metal spit or a roasting tray. As I was saying, I was thinking so, but anyway, Reb Tzadok said it once happened that Rabbi Gamliel said to Tavi, his slave, go out and roast the Pesach offering on the roasting tray. If he touched the earthenware of the oven, he must par off its place. If some of its juice drips onto the earthenware and drip back onto it, he must remove its place. If some of the juice drips from the flour, he must remove a handful from its place. If he smeared it with an oil of truma, the group is composed of Kohanim, they may eat it. If it's composed of Israelites, then it is raw. If it is raw, he must rinse it. But if it is roasted, he must par the outside. If he smeared it with oil of the second tithe, its value may not be charged to the members of the company, since second tithe may not be redeemed in Yerushalayim.
Okay.
And Makshiri. Okay, Aleph Vav. If one blew on lentils to ascertain whether they are of good quality, Reb Shimon says they are not included in the law of if water is placed. But if the sages say they are included in the law of water is placed, and if one ate sesame seeds with his fingers concerning the liquid on his hand, Reb Shimon says they are not included in the law of water is placed, but the comments say they are included in the law of the water is placed. If one hid his fruits in water because of thieves, the fruits are not included in the law of water is placed. And there was an incident with the people of Yerushalayim who hid their pressed figs in water because of the extortionists, and the rabbis ruled that they were figs with tahor. If one places fruits in the rapids of a river in order to bring them with him, they are not included in the law of water in place. Regarding the perspiration of houses, cisterns, ditches, and caves, it is tahor. Regarding the perspiration of humans, it is tahor. If one drank tame water and perspired, his perspiration is tahor. If one entered your water and then perspired, his perspiration is tame. If he dried himself and then perspired, his perspiration is tahor. Regarding a bathhouse that is tame, its perspiration is tame. And a tahor bathhouse, his perspiration is included in the law of water is placed. Regarding a pool in the house, and the house perspires on its account, it is tame. Then the perspiration of the entire house that is on account of the pool is tame.
Okay. It's basically the summary of this is like when water is intentionally placed on produce, then it makes it susceptible to tumah. So if it's something where you didn't particularly want the water, you just wanted to hide it, for example, in the water, then that's not considered bechiyatan.
Arachin.
Yeah, arachin.
Okay. Aleph. All persons are fit to declare an Eric vow or to be the subject of an Eric vow, to vow another's worth or to have their worth vowed. Kohanim, Leviim, Yisraelim, Reuben, and slaves. A person of undetermined gender and a hermaphite are fit to vow another's worth or to have their worth vowed, and they are fit to declare an Eric vow, but not to be the subject of an Eric vow, for one cannot be the subject of an Eric vow unless he is definitely male or definitely female. A deaf mute, a mentally incompetent person, or a minor are fit to have their worth vowed and be the subject of an Eric vow, but they are not fit to vow someone's worth or to declare an Eric vow because they have no understanding. An infant less than a month old is fit to have his worth vowed, but not to be the subject of an Eric vow. A non-Jew, Reb Meir says, he is fit to be the subject of an Eric vow, but he cannot declare an Eric vow. Reb Yehuda says he is fit to declare an Eric vow, but not to be the subject of an Eric vow. Both concur that they are fit to vow someone's worth and to have their worth vowed. A moribund person and the one being taken out to be executed cannot have his worth vowed or to be the subject of an Eric vow. Reb Chanina ben Akiava says he may be the subject of an Eric vow because his price is fixed, but his worth may not be vowed because its price is not fixed. Reb Yossi says he may vow someone's worth, declare an Eric vow, and consecrate it. And if he damages, he is obligated to make restitution.
Okay, and I'm running to Shachris.
Okay, good. By the way, did you ever get to see that video I sent? Did you get it? The video about the baby?
Oh yeah.